All right. Some of you play 20 questions. This time it might be 10 questions with
Fine.
the one and only Tie 99, Drew Remenda here. First off, I just want to say it just came out, just dropped maybe hour and a half ago. I don't know if you've seen this. The Sioux Greyhounds have just announced they're retiring Jumbo's number.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm surprised it hasn't already been done, for crying out loud.
Hey, now.
Oh, good. Well, is that next in at SAP Center?
You might want to jot down some dates on your calendar, but I think so. And earlier this summer, Seattle Thunderbirds announced they're retiring Marleau. So, I mean, you've shared some great Marleau and Jumbo stories with us. I mean, how great is it to see those guys get their due?
It's deserved. And I've said this about both guys, is that as great a hockey players that they were and are, as far as human beings go, you couldn't ask for better guys. You really couldn't. Patty being a good Saskatchewan boy, his stories about his brother and sister working on the farm so he could go play hockey was great. When Joe Thornton came into the Sharks, the one thing that was always, like from day one, really top of his mind, that you were part of this. No matter what position you held in the club, no matter how long you've been with the club, no matter where you were in the pecking order of the hierarchy to broadcasters at the bottom, you were part of it. You were part of the team. One guy didn't go, the one thing the guys talked about last year when Patty was around, wasn't one or two guys going out for dinner. It was, we're all going, let's go, boys. Joe did that. Joe did that with the Sharks, and it mattered to the guys. So, I'm obviously very fond of both of them. I think that I love them and respect them both. I love the fact, though, AJ, that they're part of the organizations now. Joe, I don't know what Joe's official capacity is, but he's there every day, for crying out loud. And Patty is now officially part of it. And that matters. To me, that matters. I mean, for the fans, it's a connection to our great days of the past. For the players, it's a connection to great players.
And culture.
Culture. Like, I don't know how to create a culture. I don't know what it is. I've asked coaches that, and the best answer I got was from a friend of mine that said the culture is when the players take responsibility for doing the right things on and off the ice day after day after day, where it's about them and nobody else. It's not about everything else, or not about the coaches or the management. It is about the players taking responsibility day after day after day in their preparation, in their play, in their practice, in their eating habits, in their sleep habits, everything. It's the players taking responsibility and being responsible for each other. So I thought that was the best answer I've ever heard when it came to culture. And Joe and Patty will assist in that, in my opinion, anyway. Well, hey, other thing too, before I forget. I don't know if you saw, the great Bob Murdoch passed away. Associate coach of the San Jose Sharks first 2 years. Mud was, being a 29-year-old know-it-all, naive as can be, from Hockey Canada, thinking, I got this. And I didn't, not even close. I couldn't have gone through that with two better people than George Kingston and Bob Murdoch. Bob Murdoch, two-time Stanley Cup winner, Jack Adams Award winner. Mud was so great. I mean, one of the best Mud stories I can give you. And Bob and George took care of me. Okay, I don't know if you believe this or not, but I was a little mouthy sometimes back then.
You?
Yeah, I know. It's surprising, but it's as you get older, you realize that you may have been a little chatty. And I wasn't afraid to talk about a player to management. Not understanding relationships at that time. So, you remember Jarmo Millis? Number one goalie, our goalie, Jarmo. Okay. Jarmo. Yeah. So Jarmo was one of our goalies. So we had Jeff Hackett, we had Brian Hayward. Brian got hurt early in the season. We had Jarmo Millis. Artie, I think, played that first year as well. I think that was it, but I may have been wrong. But anyway, Jack Farrar is our general manager. I don't think Jack will mind me telling the story. I hope he doesn't anyway. Jarmo had gone through a bit of a struggle, and we lost 10-2 in Pittsburgh one night. He let in 10 in the first two periods. And Jack was sitting beside me. I'm sitting beside Jack in the press box. And Jack is not happy. Okay. And Jarmo was hot mess in that game. Just awful. And the last goal, the 10th goal, I think Bob Ehrig got it. He flips it in from the blue line, and Jarmo goes to grab it, and it hits off his glove and his elbow and his shoulder and his ass, and it goes in. And Jarmo smashes the stick over the net. And Jack is now furious at me, but he's just furious at anybody. So we go to practice the next day in St. Louis, and Jarmo at the end of every practice would put his gloves and on the net and his mask, go grab a drink, and then go back in the net at the end of practice for some more shots. Well, as soon as he does that, Doug Wilson skates over, grabs the gloves, and goes in the net, and guys start flipping pucks at him, and he's knocking in the net, he's spinning around and putting them in. Jack is furious at this. He's not happy. In fact, he left the rink, if I remember correctly.
Little showmanship.
Yeah. We come back, and I don't remember how many games it was, but we're playing, and I think it was Los Angeles. We played pretty well, but we lost the game in a close game. But we played pretty good. And Jack is in talking to George and Bob, and I'm in there in the coach's room as well, and I'm going back and forth over the video because that's how you did it back then. And I'm shaking my head like, geez, and I'm swearing away. And Jack goes, what are you looking at? I said, the last goal. I said, I'm bleeping, I'm swearing. I said, he's got to have this. He's got to have this. This is the NHL. He's got to have this. I mean, how does he not have this goal, right? I said, the National Hockey League, Jack. And Jack goes, oh, and then he just explodes. Just like, Mr. Hockey Canada, first year in the league, what the National Hockey League do. And he just tears a strip off me, like just tears into me. I'm shocked because I'm dead right. I'm friggin' right here. It was a bad goal, right? But I'm shocked at how he just tears into me. Then he storms out of the office. And I look at George and Bob, and I went, what? Like, what did I do wrong there? And Bob said this, some of the wisest words I ever heard. He goes, Drew, you just had a baby, right? You and Michelle just had a baby. I went, yeah, so? And it's our daughter, Jordan. She was born the same time the Sharks were born. And he goes, and she's beautiful. I said, yeah, thanks. What's your point? He went, let me ask you, what would you say, what would you do if somebody called your baby ugly? And I went, well, I get mad, I get upset, I get pissed off because she's gorgeous. And he leans in and goes, you just called Jack's baby ugly. And I went, oh, okay, I get it. So that was Bobby. Bobby was he was so great. So unfortunately he passed away. He had tough last few years. He had dementia and Parkinson's, but love that man to death. And Shark fans way back in the Cow Palace days would remember Mud, one of the good ones. So to Mud.
That's a great story.
Isn't that good? You just called his baby ugly.
Oh my Lord. Well, let's get to the man of the hour, of course. Erik Karlsson.
Yeah.
We've heard of him.
Well, it's interesting when you look at that. The guy had a 100-point year, and nobody's done it since 1992-93, and only 6 guys have done it in history from that position.
Oh, Leach last time, right?
Yeah, Brian Leach, 92-93. Yep. And but Erik's career path is different from where the Sharks are.
Of course.
Right? So his career path is different, and so are the Sharks. So even with 100 points last year, the Sharks weren't even close to a playoff spot. So how can you maximize Erik's value? He wanted to win. And the great thing about Mike and Erik is that they were very open with each other. Mike Grier being, and there was no animosity. And the Sharks wanted to do what was best for Erik, but at the same time, as Mike Grier said often, we're not giving them away.
Yeah.
And the rumors out there were Sharks are going to keep 50%, 40%, 30%. There's no friggin' way they were doing that.
Not for 4 years. Not for 4 years.
No way. And I said that on the radio show I do here in Saskatchewan. And I said, I'm telling you right now, nobody calls me and says, hey, Drew, what do you think? But I'll tell you right now, I know that they're not going to keep that much. I said, I'm guessing $2 million would be their max to want to keep.
I thought 3.5.
Did you? Okay. Well, a lot of guys did too. But that would, so then to get Pittsburgh, because Kyle was really aggressive. And there's an article today in Sportsnet up here that Kyle Dubas, that is from Pittsburgh, was after Karlsson when he was in Toronto. He wanted, but with what? You had jelly beans and shoestrings as far as your cap space goes. You had nothing. But Kyle was very aggressive. Mike was very patient. And they did a deal that I think works out well for both teams. Now, I'd love to see, I can't wait to see that power play with Letang, Crosby, Malkin, and Karlsson on. That should be fun to watch. Probably against
Okay, but so you make a great point, and there's been articles and various media that talk about, is Letang Karlsson going to be Burns Karlsson 2.0?
Different players, different personalities, Letang's got a very different personality from
different players and personalities.
Yeah,
but it depends on deployment, right?
Right. But Letang was one of the guys that called Erik, from my understanding. So was Crosby. Letang wants to win. I'm not saying Burns he doesn't, but they go about it different ways. Letang's shared the spotlight before. He shares the spotlight with Crosby and
like pretty big players.
Malkin. Yeah, with some premium players. So that, I think they'll be able to work that out. And I think Mike Sullivan will be able to work that out. Does that make them a contender for the Stanley Cup? I don't know. Remember, they didn't make the playoffs last year.
And it's funny you bring that up, because Vegas, the odds makers, had the Penguins 28-1 to win the Cup prior to the trade. It hasn't changed since the trade.
Yeah, they didn't make the playoffs last year. I think this probably puts them into a position to make the playoffs because they didn't miss it by much.
But boy, that East is going to be tough. There's 12 teams in the East that all think they're making it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I still think it gives them, when you get the most talented player in the trade, you've done a good job in that trade. For the Sharks, I think it bridges the gap a little bit more so that this time from where they are now to being a playoff team, to being a contender again, is shortened. I like Jan Ruda, right-handed shooting defenseman, 2 Stanley Cups. I like Mike Hoffman. He always scores. I think that's a little funny that Mike Hoffman's coming our side. I think that's kind of a little bit worth a chuckle.
Yeah, but the whole thing is, wherever Mike Hoffman goes, he takes the team to the playoffs, it seems like.
Yeah, he scores. And he scores goals. Yeah. And then Granlund, I don't know about Granlund. I can't say I'm that knowledgeable about him. I just know he couldn't find his footing in Pittsburgh. And so, but again, I think it improves the club. I think the club as it stands right now with the addition of Dubois and with Smith, I think that they've done a good job. I think that Mike has made the team better. So I think they're better now than where they were last year at this point. So I'm hoping it bridges the gap and makes it a little bit smaller bridge to cross over from going from where they are now to a contender.
Well, I mean, we're a year into the Grier era.
Yeah.
Aside from Couture and Hurdle, there's no long-term deals really left on the books. So there's lots of flexibility. Vlasic's only here for another 3 years on his deal. And that's really the only bone of contention that some fans have, is that, well, okay, that contract could have been a little bit less. But a lot of times when they say that, they forget about that 5-year window where they were getting Vlasic for a song.
Yeah.
So
listen, you can't look at Mark's game last season, and have that many complaints.
Yeah, he bounced back
big time. So you bring up that word flexibility, and that's a great word for the Sharks right now. They have flexibility now, because let's say that you now at the trade deadline have options. if you're not in a position to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you have some options if teams are looking for certain guys, and you've got that. But the flexibility is important for Mike and the Sharks, and I think he did a very good job on it. I mean, the patience he had, because I know, everybody was all over him, but Kyle was aggressive. As Mike, you were on the conference call with Mike, and Kyle was aggressive, and Mike was patient, and it worked out, I think, for both teams.
Well, the other thing I think should be mentioned is back when Doug Wilson traded for Erik Karlsson, there were a few suitors involved.
Yes.
Whereas today, or I should say a couple days ago, hey, D'Angelo signed with Carolina, Dunn in Seattle. There was some chatter in Toronto, but I mean, look at their cap. I mean, how are you going to make that work? So it was kind of like the market bared what it did. There weren't the same amount of teams that were banging on the door for Erik Karlsson's services.
Yeah.
So to see that you got out from that contract, which was kind of a weight for the Sharks.
Sure, of course it was.
Yeah, still get back that first round pick, despite it being protected.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, first rounders too.
Yeah, so I'm just so I guess the question here is, I mean, it's been a year for Mike Grier. What have you liked so far regarding his choices? And is there maybe a choice that you sit there and go, in the moment, I'm not sure about that, but let's wait 2 or 3 years?
For his choices,
I mean, because the Burns deal, the Meyer deal.
What I like about Mike is that he's definitely come in with a plan. He's definitely saying, listen, there wasn't much on the development side, and we don't have much here. We're going to try to bring some bona fide NHLers in. We're going to keep the guys on the development side developing. We're going to bring more players into that, and guys are going to get called up when they deserve it. And the guys that Mike got to come in, you could have had like Nico Sturm, Steven Lawrence. I'm sorry to see Steven go, but I love that kid. Yeah. What a great kid. Mikey Eyssimont was a good one. I mean, all the guys that come in, everybody that came in, they were positive influences and positive on the ice.
I was really bummed to see Eyssimont go, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. It was a good move, as you had to do. I was too. I really like Mikey. The other aspect is Craig Button from TSN, who knows every young player out there. He said Makamadulan is the next guy ready to play in the NHL. He really liked that move by Mike Grier. I wasn't thrilled with the fact that they traded Timo, but I got it. It was like an inheritance tax. They took over the team and they inherited. It was inheritance tax that they had to pay. That's okay, but they got.
I was just gonna ask. Did it also feel like another case of the Sharks doing right by a player?
Yes.
That they know, it wasn't going to work for them in the plan that they have. So we're gonna treat you right and get you to where you want and need to be.
That's what I like about the Sharks. They take the player into consideration, and that's the other thing about Erik. Let's remember, Erik had a choice, and he did. He could have said, "No, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go here. I'm not going to." And they did right by him. I do like that about Mike Grier, but Mike Grier is a former player who gets that, So the thing I do like about Mike, to reiterate, is the fact he's come in with a plan, and that plan is been put in motion, and he's steadfast to it. The other aspect I like about Mike is what he showed with Erik Karlsson. He's patient. He knows this is going to take some time. He understands it. He gets it. He's not here and then here and then here and here. He is very calm and he understands it. Tom Holy, assistant general manager, is the same way. The scouting staff is the same way. His advisors are the same way. They know that it's in motion. Yeah, everybody would like it to happen tomorrow, but it's not going to. They're very realistic. I also like, you're going to color yourself shocked when I tell you this. I really like the coaching staff he picked. I know I'm big on coaches. I'm a big fan of coaches, obviously. But I like the coaching staff he picked because he understands that they are going to develop with the team. So I dig that.
Well, and I mean, Warsofsky just that to me, there was a lot of people that were looking at him as the head coach.
Yeah.
So to have that as kind of an ace in your back pocket feels like a really good play.
I think there's, I think I might have told you this already, that I believe there are three coaches in the world. There's head coaches in waiting, and assistant coaches. Warsofsky's a head coach in waiting. The other coaches, I believe, are really good assistant coaches. You know, I like that coaching staff.
Would you call Bugner a great assistant coach, but maybe not a great head coach?
I thought he did a good job coaching. I know people are going to think you're crazy, but I thought he did a good job coaching. He was, come on, man. He was
with the hand he was dealt. I was very much a proponent for Bugner.
Very, very impressed. And you know, but here's the thing. Neither of us are in the room, right? I mean, you know, I can look at it from afar. You can look at it from afar. Guys that know hockey and go, I think he's doing a good job here. I think he's doing a good job there. I always look when you're in a bad team and you're coaching a bad team. Did they keep playing for me?
And I felt like they did with Bugner.
I agree. So I think Bobby, if he gets a good team, would be a good coach, or is a good coach.
Yeah. So that brings me to the question. I mean, the Sharks lost their two top scorers from the last season, Meyer and Karlsson. What do you think the approach is for Quinn coming into the camp in this season?
Well, to state the obvious, he's going to have to spread out the scoring. I think they've got to be a team that, if you're not working on your power play every stinking day, then you're not doing it right. And if you are not working on your late game D-zone coverage and D-zone philosophy and defensive posturing every day, you're not doing it right. They lost 32 games with a lead last year. Is that right?
You're very close. If you're not on the money, you're right. You're right there.
Danny Rizanowski would know it like that, but
yeah, of course.
Situational hockey. Understand the mental side of the situational hockey. And the other aspect is, you know, I'm not saying it's going to happen to this degree, but the Vegas Golden Knights show that you need a bunch of relentless sons of guns on your team. One thing, and this is one thing I liked about the team last year, is their attitude. Their attitude was great, but they could have more, as David Quinn says, FU in their game.
And I felt like they had a little bit more of that comeback FU Bugner's last season.
Mm-hmm. I think, and David talked about it with the guys all the time, they need more of that. A bunch of relentless SOBs who will not quit and keep playing, keep pushing.
Wait a minute. This is a podcast. Yeah, no, they need more fuck you in that game.
I'm getting old. I'm a grandfather now. I can't be swearing all the time in public.
No, it's only when you're on the air. This is a podcast. It's fine.
Rosie will be mad at Papa for doing that.
Well, the other thing that I think is going to be kind of interesting to see how this all plays out over the next season or two. I'm not, you know, it's not destination reclamation.
Right.
But there are some guys you want to see have some bounce back seasons, particularly the ones that have a year left on their deals.
Yeah.
So who are you keyed in to make the most of their contract year among this FA group when you're talking about a 27-year-old Labanc, 27-year-old Duclair, 26-year-old Lindblom, and you're going to have guys from the CUDA, whether it's Smith or Bordelot or Eklund, pushing for spots. And with more NHL players than positions right now, how are the Sharks going to handle this?
Well, I want to see those guys push for spots first of all. You don't give them anything. You can't give them anything. Mike talked about that on the conference call with us.
Yeah.
They got to go earn it. They got to beat a guy out of the spot. All the guys you mentioned, yes, I want to see Kevin Labanc get that nasty in his game. I want to see Tomas Hertl.
Yes.
Tomas Hertl needs a bounce back year. Yeah, he had decent amount of points, but he needs to be better. He needs to be better at his body language. He needs to be better at his leadership. He needs to be better as far as every single game. He needs to get that FU in his game. He needs to get nasty. He needs to be one of those relentless SOBs.
You know,
why can't he be Mark Stone?
Yes.
Why not?
And it's funny you bring that up because I remember there was a game towards the end of the season this past season where Hertl and Evander Kane kind of came together a little bit. And I thought Hertl was like, I mean, it's been a very frustrating season with the team. I was like, oh my God, Hurdle might try to lay out Kane here at this moment. And I'm not going to say he turtled by any stretch, but
yeah.
I was expecting Hurdle to just like exercise some demons in that moment. And he just kind of let it go. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe he should have released the hounds in that moment.
Yeah. David Quinn said there's probably no nicer person in the National Hockey League off the ice than Tomas Hurdle. But also that creeps over to on the ice. He's a wonderful young man. He cares deeply. I'm a big body language guy, though, and body language drives me nuts because that's the one thing you can control in a very chaotic game. I'd like to see him get a handle on that. But I also want to see him not be so nice.
Yeah.
I want to see him be, like you said, release the hounds every once in a while. Because he's a big dude. He's a strong dude. He's got to get in different shape, and he talked about that. So David Quinn. The game is all about, it's not about big and hulking anymore. It's about, you got to be quick. And Tomas is a good skater, so he can retrain himself. Brett Hedican talks about it all the time. You can retrain yourself, even at whatever age. Now, a guy like me is not going to get that much faster, but a guy like Tomas Hurdle will get faster, right?
Well, and if the Sharks actually just shared, I guess Hurdle has filmed some of his workouts where he's at in Czech, and there's a lot of weight training going on in there.
Right. Yeah. And it's explosive training. Boom.
Yes.
Boom. Because that's what you don't need to be fast for 45 feet. You need to be fast for 3 steps.
It's very kind of MMA, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Think quick, not fast. I want to gain separation. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to gain separation. Even in MMA, I'm trying to gain separation, either inside close or outside, or getting out of the pocket or getting to the side. Bang, bang, then I'm moving. Bang, bang, then I'm moving. That's why boxing and MMA are so different. Because boxers move better. They play their angles better. MMA guys coming straight at you, except the good ones, the great ones. The great ones can move. But if you watch great boxers, Mayweather was one of those guys who just stood there and just was beautiful at it. One of my favorite fighters, Vasily Lomachenko. His movement is great, but he did like 15 years of Ukrainian dancing. That was, the guy could move. So it's about separating yourself from your opponent. I need Tomas to have your first 3-4 steps. Boom. Again, think quick, not fast. So those are guys I'm looking at. Goalies.
Well, of course. Yeah, it does make you wonder between Blackwood, Kakinen, and Makiniemi, like, who is going to hold the net at the end of this coming season? Will there be some sort of move? It would just, hey, Stalock just signed a deal with Anaheim. And I couldn't be more happier for the guy.
You couldn't, Tommy Grace retires and Alex is still fighting. That's so great to see. Because again, you couldn't ask for a better person. But
my God.
I was talking to an NHL goalie coach the other day, and we were talking about Blackwood, and he likes him. He said, he just got in some injury trouble in New Jersey, then fell behind. He said, I still think he's 25.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got good potential. He said, I think you guys made a good move with that one. So, knock on wood.
It's no secret. Erik Karlsson, bit of a polarizing figure among Sharks fans.
Yeah.
A bit of love-hate there. They loved his offense, hated his defense.
Mm-hmm.
That said, the Penguins come to the tank for the 6th home game of the season on the first Saturday in November. Look, I don't expect the heroes welcome that Marleau and Jumbo and Pavelski got, but do you think there might be a couple of jeers among the cheers when he does come back? Because he does get some false blame among some fans that aren't, let's just say, aware, educated. They blame him, that they look at it that, before Karlsson, the Sharks were going to the playoffs every year, and then Karlsson got here and they missed 4 straight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of vibe.
He also fed Kevin Labanc that pass against Vegas. So, wasn't Labanc who scored?
No, Goodrow.
I mean, he fed it to Goodrow on that, So, I don't think so. I think Shark fans have always been really generous with their praise. And
they welcomed you back.
No kidding, like 4 times. Like, what is going on there? I know. Again, that's why my summer's been so good, because I get to come back again. So it's funny. My boss at the radio station said to me, because he goes, "You're conspicuously happy this summer," and I went, "Yeah, I know." And
you got a job to go back to, right?
He said, "What is it, granddaughter or the Sharks?" I went, "Yep."
Oh
So,
my gosh.
yeah. So, I think the fans will be very appreciative of it. I mean, the 100-point season was amazing last year, and it was something that was historical for the Sharks, historical for the league. I think they'll welcome them back nicely. They're always pretty good that way.
And you look at the limited time that Erik Karlsson was with the Sharks, yet fourth on the list in points.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something, behind Burns, Vlasic, and who am I missing? Boyle.
Danny
yeah.
Boyle.
So how the hell did I miss Boyle?
Yeah. Offensively gifted, that's for sure. Yeah.
Well, how do you think it goes for EK65 in Pittsburgh? I mean, do you think he plays out the full 4 years in a Penguins jersey?
34 now, 38. He is in phenomenal condition. If his injuries stay away and they don't attack him like they did when he was with San Jose, that's hard to say, right? I think he does, though. I think he does.
Because let's be honest. This is a kick in the can, the final kick in the can for Crosby and Dry.
Exactly. Well, it's also It's a final for him too.
Yeah.
Like, this is his shot to win. And I don't know if they can. I don't look at them as a team right now as a team that's really a serious contender for the Stanley Cup. There are better teams in the East and certainly in the West.
Yeah.
But I would never count out Sid and Malkin and Eric and Letang. I mean, they've got some talent. Can those guys carry them far enough? I don't think so, because we've seen in the last number of years it takes everybody. It can't just be 4 or 5 guys.
Well, and a lot of people have dragged the Penguins over the last year or two that they just aren't responsible in their own end. And let's be honest, Karlsson, not really his forte.
No. Some say he couldn't check his hat, but that's, what? That's, it was, I think it was Ken Hitchcock who talked to, I was asking him about Russian kid they drafted when he was in Columbus. I can't remember his name now. It didn't turn out very well, but really talented offensively. And
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I want to say Shapovalov, but that's the tennis player for Canada.
Driving me crazy.
You know which guy I'm talking about?
Yeah, I just can't remember his name.
Either can I, but so
what's the opposite of Kaprizov?
So Ken said, I said, how do you deal with a guy like that? And he goes, well, you know what? When I first started with him, every time he turned over entering the blue line, I'd lose my mind. Zone entry turnover, they go the other way and lose my mind. But then I started watching the video, and back then you're doing statistics. It wasn't analytics back then, but he said, so let's say for every 10 entries into the zone, he turns 4 over. The other 6 are brilliant. Do I kick his ass about the 4? Or do I focus on the 6 brilliant ones and say, that's what we're looking for? That's what we're looking for. And for Ken Hitchcock, Ken was a certain type of guy, right? As far as type of coach he is. And he said, so want to concentrate in the good. With every player, there's good and bad. With every good player, there's give and take. You got to understand when to get after him, when not to. Eric's Eric. What are you going to do to him? He's making $11.75 million for 4 more years. What are you going to do, Mike?
Yeah. Well, there's some guys that no matter what the sport is, it doesn't even have to be a sport. It could be a computer programmer or whatever. It's the boss has to be aware of some guys need the carrot, some guys need the stick.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. And some guys respond when they see the carrot and they get the praise. And the other ones, sometimes they need that kick in the ass. Yeah. But you know what? It gets them to respond.
I should probably turn on the light here, right? Just for fun.
Is it already going dark up there?
There you go. Yeah. It's Saskatchewan, but it's Great White North. There we go. Oh boy. Big beam off my head. Well, big surprise. Anyway, there we go. I know I look better in the dark, but
oh, come on. Okay. With that, I totally hate to do this to you because I so respect your time.
No, you don't.
But I absolutely do. That's why I waited this long to ask you to do this.
Okay.
Last time I saw you, you were hucking pizzas at season ticket holders.
But yeah, and I had the best. I had the best booth, without a doubt. Right? Give people free pizza, they're going to come see you.
Yeah. No, it was fantastic. All right. So one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about, and maybe this hits a little close to home. It may or may not. Are you familiar with the name Kevin Brown or the Baltimore Orioles organization?
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Kevin Brown, but you tell it, and then I'll respond.
Well, so the debacle is Kevin Brown, play-by-play guy for the Baltimore Orioles, is evidently suspended. Reportedly, the funny thing is, of course, is the organization will neither confirm or deny, but
they won't talk about the employee status.
Right. Yeah. But from the latest thing that I saw is that he's supposed to return to air August 11th after being off for a couple of weeks because he spoke the words that were on a graphic. Like he literally talked about stats that showed the Baltimore Orioles have not done well at Tropicana or whatever the ballpark in Tampa is for now.
Yes,
but they've not performed well at this particular venue for the previous 3 years. And evidently ownership had a problem with that fact. And I will tell you, watching that made me lose my mind for a multitude of reasons. Of course, the first thing that popped into my head was your quote, how can I, be honest with any credibility with my praise if I can't critique them honestly?
Yeah.
But the other thing that just stuck with me is, didn't the Sharks go 2 for 22 in their first 24 events at Buffalo? Don't the New York Rangers have a really hard time winning games at SAP Center? These are just facts. And the fact that there were graphics put up, it's not like he pulled these out of his ass and said, how can I do my best today to try to lose my job? Right.
So the thing, what he was doing was, because Baltimore is up at the top, how they're playing, which is unexpected, but they're happy in Baltimore. He was talking about how tough it's been for the Orioles at Tropicana, but this year they've won 3 of 5. That's more wins this year than the last 2 seasons combined.
This is what's known as positive news.
Exactly. So he was saying, look, we weren't very good here. It's a very historically tough place, not only for the Orioles to win, but a lot of teams to win, because Tampa's been really, really good in Tropicana. And so this is what we did before, but this year, look at us. And here we are back at Trop, and the guys are feeling confident, and the Orioles are playing good, and things are going well. Forget it. What are you doing? You're not supposed to talk about the past, because baseball never, ever talks about the past. Baseball never, ever uses statistics. Baseball never, ever, ever goes, hey, what about that time, on Wednesday when
it was a
left-handed
moon?
Exactly. When the full moon and left-handed starters and right-handed relievers were 14-2 in those situations. No, you never do that. It's ridiculous. But it's funny because, I've told you my discussions with certain owners. I will say this: one of the great things about coming back to San Jose in this present form, I was humiliated when I left, because I didn't want to go anywhere else. And I loved, as you know, how much I love San Jose and the Sharks fans and the team itself and the people that work in that organization. So I was, I don't know if I'd be clinically depressed, but I was depressed.
Devastated.
Devastated. I was hurt by it. And then thank goodness for Jonathan Becker and Scott Emmer. And when I came back, I walked into Jonathan and I asked him, I said, what do you want from me? And he looked at me like I had 3 heads and went, what? So what do you want from me? And he went, I want you to broadcast Sharks games like you always do. Because Jonathan was a fan before he was the president of the club. And he said, like, I don't want you to sell yourself out. I don't want you to do nothing but rainbows and happiness and Skittles falling from the sky. That's not what our team is. You tell me, you honestly broadcast. And he said, just do what you do. You know the relief that you feel as a broadcaster when you hear that?
The shoulders went from here to down here?
Exactly. It's like, wow, man, that was, and Scott Emmerich the same way. I asked Scott the same question, and he went, just do Drew. You. Yeah. He said, Drew. But don't do it. Don't do Drew like you did in 2014. Maybe, be the new Drew. But it's also, there's also lessons. I mean, there's also lessons to learn. I mean, I was asked when we were going through this about me coming back, what happened? And I said, well, what are you talking about? I was Drew friggin' Remenda. I was Mr. Emmy Award winning Tie 99. Todd McClellan's my best friend. I'm watching every day game with them. I know exactly what's going on. I can tell you all the insides and outs of this, how the team's supposed to play and the players' secrets. I'm friggin' Drew Remenda. My head was like this big.
I knew Nabby was going to score
I
before
knew
the puck was on his stick.
I've told you that story, right?
Oh yeah, stepped all over his coat.
Yeah, Randy, still to this day. But my head was out to here. Like I was an egomaniacal a-hole. I wasn't very nice. And it takes some humility because my thing was this. And I think I told you this. My thing was this. I'm right. But it's the same story with Jack Farrar and Bob. Just because you're right doesn't mean you can call somebody's baby ugly. And I was calling a lot of babies ugly.
But when you got a player on the ice saying, look at Drew. He says it's in.
The great Mick Magoo. Who the f- is Drew? But so
he's always right.
Yeah, I'm standing up there going like this. God, things I did, you shake your head. I'm 61 now, so the things I did, I look back and I go, oh my goodness. And so I try to tell everybody there's a new Drew, and I'm nicer in traffic now.
Use your signals.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, but I don't scream at people when I do this. I don't do this behind them all the time. I'm more considerate. I think I've tried to turn over a new leaf for the new Drew. But every once in a while,
it creeps in.
The old Drew creeps in. And listening to the story about Kevin Brown and watching it and seeing on awful announcing, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Why are you doing this? This guy was actually praising you. But and I don't understand when an owner thinks like, was it Angelo is his last name, right? Mr. Angelo is the owner for Baltimore. When you think like that, or your people who are in charge think like that, what are you afraid of? And you and I have talked about this before. Fans aren't stupid.
Yes.
They're following the team because they love the team. But the vast majority, like the 99.9% of the people watching the team that they love, the team that they root for, they want to hear the truth because they know the truth. They're not dumb, especially when it comes to hockey.
Yeah,
because
especially.
Hockey, you have to understand the game. You have to be invested. You can't walk away from a hockey game for 10 minutes and come back and go, oh yeah, I got it. I understand what's going on. You have to be invested and you have to understand the game and the players. You have to know what they bring because it's a chaotic game. And fans don't want to be insulted. That's why I said that, if I can't critique them honestly, how can I praise them with any credibility? And our owner at that time reminded me that I wasn't a journalist.
Yeah, of course.
Because
if you want to be a journalist, right, you can fly coach.
Exactly. You fly coach, you fly commercial, you stay in motels, you take taxis, But
you've got the guy from the Orioles mandating that they can't mention certain past players'
Yeah,
names.
past players. Like why? Like why?
You are mandated to like wear garb that
you have to wear that. You have to wear the. That's why the radio guy got suspended apparently for them earlier this year when Kevin Brown filled in for radio, is because he wasn't wearing the Orioles garb. Hey, if the Sharks want to throw me garb, the Sharks want to throw me swag, I'm wearing it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But I mean, the last time I saw Randy Hahn wear something with the Sharks logo was like, I don't know, 95, and it was a denim t-shirt.
Remember those? Do you remember those?
Of course. You know, he's up there with Stemkowski, and they're wearing
they did the polo shirts too. Remember
of course.
And Stemmer, there's that one clip of Stemmer who was a big man, and when you stood beside Stemmer, you could feel the heat, you know,
radiating
off of him. And he's standing there in that gray polo shirt, and he's soaked. He's just soaked. And I'm thinking, that's when I was coaching, and we're watching it going, oh man, let's never go change, shower off or something. But yeah, but the whole thing is that talking about people from the past, that your fans who have followed your team longer than you've been owner of this team, is not a bad thing. It's,
well, and Machado, this is. But like Machado is that's not a player that, at least from the fans that I've known, that like they don't hate him, like they understood what happened. Like,
yes,
tell me a Shark that, I don't know, somewhere between 91 and 2005 that was like there was a good contingent. Well, hell, the first 20 years, a Sharks player that there was a contingent of fans that were just like, that fucking guy. Like if he was brought up, who?
Eddie Belfour.
Okay, all right, I'll give you that. That one I will give you, because in my mind I'm thinking of Pronger, but Pronger wasn't a Shark. But yeah, Belfour, yes, but Belfour definitely
one out of all of those guys. Even those first year guys they were loved, and the fans remember how they feel about guys. You remember that what fandom is all about is how I feel. Like I cheer for guys. There's guys on Vegas. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to say this. There's guys on Vegas I've known, like Chandler Stevenson. I've known him since he was 14 years old. I've known his mom since high school. I hate to admit it. There's a couple players on that team, like you're saying, it's just kind of like they're just good guys. They play on a team that you fucking hate. Yeah. But god damn it, you hate to root for those guys. Aiden Hill's an outstanding young man. Great dude. Braden McNabb's was from Davidson, Saskatchewan, but from Saskatoon. I saw Braden the other day, as a matter of fact. Just bought a new house here. Just a great guy. Just had a baby. It's fantastic. He did the Stanley Cup thing last week.
Oh.
In Saskatoon, and then drove out to Davidson, which is like less than an hour from Saskatoon. That's where he's from. Nobody from Davidson, I don't think, has ever won a Stanley Cup before. They had a big parade for him. The best thing was, freaking guy, he puts the Stanley Cup in his truck. Of course, I looked at him and went, dude, truck? Really? You're in Vegas? And he went, hey, take the boy out of Saskatchewan. Can't take Saskatchewan out of the boy.
Hey, now.
His lovely wife, they just had a baby during the playoffs. She gets into the truck, into the back seat. The Stanley Cup goes in the front seat, clicks it in. He gets in, pieces out, on his way to Davidson. So that you cheer for people. And Shark fans and any fans of any team cheer for people. And the broadcaster, if you're doing it right, and I've said this before, and I'll say it until I'm gone on my last day, is that the Shark fans have been really lucky with the broadcasters they have, excluding me. I'm talking about Randy and Danny, Mr. Hall of Fame. By the way, when you see him call him Mr. Hall of Fame, he hates it, which is great. Because I call him that now all the time, and he just tells me to shut up. So I have to do it. So, and Brett Hedican's great. Jimmy Baker was great. Even Stemmer and Stevie Conroy and Tony Granado, those guys, they're great people. And they cared about the team, but they also cared about how they delivered the message about the team. They wanted to be honest, but they also wanted to show you that they're advocates. They're also cheering for the team. You can do that, but just because you're honest doesn't mean you're negative.
Exactly. See, and that's my whole thing. It's just the fact, we can't say a a previous player's name. It's like, I don't know that there's ever been a time where you or Ruzi or Randy or Brett or anybody that's familiar with the history has had a problem with uttering the names Belfour or Brian Campbell. Like if,
yeah, okay,
you know,
there's no, yeah,
you know, it's like,
yeah,
if that's what it is, and you sit there and say, you know, Sharks fans have had it pretty good with the broadcast crew. And aside from Brody, I completely agree with you. Totally.
We lost Curtis. Lost Curtis this year.
Yeah, but good for him.
Yeah,
good for him working on that program.
Exactly.
Who do you think comes in? Do you think that's Scotty? Is that Hanner?
I would think so. He's so good. I've actually offered to do both jobs, but they said I wasn't that good. They said I wasn't that good at just the one job. Never mind doing two. So
doing two? I mean, come on, what? They need you to walk around with a broom up your ass to sweep while you walk? I mean, come on.
Exactly. That's what I'm doing. So, but we the thing is that for Curtis, it's great. It's fantastic. I think Hanner, because I love Hanner. I think Hanner's fantastic. Don't tell him I said so, but he's really good. But I think with overall with the Sharks broadcasters is that they all get it. You know, the one thing is, and this goes to Sean Madison, our producer too, and we want to do a good show, and we want to do a show that's honest. And the bosses, they want that too. They are not in our way. They have not told us what to say. They have not told us how to act. They just want us to do a good show, and I think we do. You know, I think more telestrator and more featuring things like me would make it a really good
absolutely.
Show. Yeah, I agree.
Where do you feel more comfortable? Do you feel more comfortable when Randy's up in the front row of 215 and you're down behind the glass, or do you prefer to be next to Randy?
I prefer upstairs because I can see everything.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the thing. But then again, though, behind the glass, obviously you're going to, you might hear some things being said.
See, that's what I think. Like when I watch guys who are inside the glass or beside the benches or anything else, and they're not talking about what's going on the benches, and what the hell are you down there for?
Yeah.
Now, I've had people say to me, you talk way too much about what's going on the benches.
That's literally why you're down there.
That's what I would think. That's why I'm down there. David Quinn, every once in a while, so Sean Madison, my producer, because I always take, headphones, I'd always take one ear off. Okay. And now he's got me this year. He's just got me the 1 ear headset. So I can, every once in a while, I'd be like, I'm watching Quinny and the coaching staff and everything else. And every once in a while, David Quinn would just turn and look at me and go, what? I would say, just watch it. I think you should relay that stuff because there's some neat stuff goes on. Nicky Bonino was great down there. The guys, like Mark-Edward Vlasic. Mark-Edward Vlasic would always in warm up and watch for it this year. So when I'm doing the we do that back and forth upstairs. Mark-Edward Vlasic is always sticking a stick on my ribs, or he's giving me a slap here, or he does the water thing. Always giving me a little shot, a jab, like always the whole time. I like doing that part. I like being down there because you get that vibe from the guys. That stuff's fun.
Oh, it's signs of love. I mean, Brent Burns used to cup check Brody on a regular.
He used to do that to me all the time. Oh, no. So remember
a fucking surprise.
Yeah. So when I go downstairs and do the interviews, when I was still on radio, but I'd run downstairs and do the interviews between the periods. Okay. Owen, without fail, would cup check me all the time. There's one in Montreal where he didn't cup check me. He hits me. Like he walks by, I'm talking to Ronnie Stern, and he drills me into the wall. And Ronnie goes, "You okay?" And I say, "That's the best hit he's thrown all period." Owen turns and looks at me and goes, call me Peanut all the time. He looked at me and go, "Peanut, what'd you just say?" Nothing. But then again, I'm interviewing Ronnie Stern. He scores the goal against St. Louis in Game 7. Okay, first goal. Okay, and I actually saw it. Before the game, I said, "Ronnie, you're going in. Okay, great job." Good. He goes, "Interview me between the periods. Say hi to my family." I said, "If you score a goal, you can do it yourself, right?"
Oh.
So he scores that first goal. I'm down there. Owen walks by me while I'm asking the first question, and he hits me full on. And you see me go, "Oh, shit." Ronnie's starting to laugh. It's Game 7, and he's nailing me in, the crotch. But that's just, it's the fun stuff about doing what I do. It's so great that way. I mean, Connor McDavid never cup checked me. Thankfully, I guess that's a good thing. But it was like that's the great thing about being back with this team. The other thing is, though, when it comes to broadcaster, when you are down inside the glass, you should talk about what's going on inside the glass. And for me, upstairs, I see everybody does. You see the game better. You see everybody moving, and it's slower because damn, that game is fast now, man.
Yeah.
The game is so quick, and it's cool because you're right there. I have believe it or not, I have a great relationship with the referees down there. There's some of them are really, really funny. I got to give them credit. They're really funny.
I'm telling you, the amount of money that the NHL could generate if the players, if they had mics on the ice and they sold the uncensored version of hockey, my Lord, it would sell like gangbusters. And you would, well, you talk about those hits and some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. For what, I have two things. First off, how much with that divider between yourself and the other bench, do you still hear a good amount of chatter from the opposing team?
Yeah.
Oh, they're still going.
And I'm always looking. I'm always, because guys, the guy that was funny was James Reimer, because James, was he's
he seems so buttoned down. Yeah.
He is, right? Christian buttoned down guy, but he did it this way. Okay. So somebody would do something stupid, somebody would do something, against the Sharks, egregious against the Sharks. And James would go, "Doing a good job out there, bud. You're so tough. Great job. Way to go." He was always just like really sarcastic about it. And finally I looked at him, I said, "You don't really trash talk people." He goes, "Yes, I am." I went, "Well, I guess in your way you are." But he would tell guys they were doing a great job. And it was
first and row to the pearly gates.
Exactly. He was so sarcastic about it. Mark Evers, like, the guys are funny. I mean, Mario's
classic seems like he's really a funny whip of a tongue. Mm-hmm. He has was it Vlasic when they had that run to the Stadium Series? I swear to God, I thought Vlasic was involved in like something happened in a corner, there was some sort of tight hit or whatever, and you heard like Vlasic, take this hit, and you hear this, "Hey, easy, fuck face," and they skate on, and then the guy who took the hit asks a different Shark, "Did he just call me fuck face?" And the guy goes, "He calls everybody that." And then
that's the NHL's got to get on that, man. It's got to be like the NFL behind the scenes, man.
Oh, I would let Hard Knocks, that type of HBO, do it, throw it up there.
Did you see Wilson today or the other day on Hard Knocks? He's got the short sleeve. He's got the short sleeves, and he's got the like right up here. He's showing off the guns, sends out guns out, and Sal is talking to Aaron, and he goes, look at his sleeves up. He looks fantastic. He looks great there. He said, Did you do that for him? And he goes, "No, I told him to bring it down." Then he throws a pass and he goes, "Hey, pull your sleeves down." And Wilson turns and looks and goes, "Well, the guy that I'm behind, he doesn't have anything. He's got skinny arms. He doesn't have anything. So I thought I'd show something off." So Robert Sally goes, "No, leave it, man." That's the kind of stuff that you've got to have for the NHL. You want to keep it. The platforms are changing, as we know. Look at what we're doing now. So bring it up on a YouTube platform or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. And the honesty aspect of it. But you talked about some of the behind the scenes thing. I'll tell you I mean, you were there, the whole Marleau thing at TechCU, that was so much fun. And I will tell you the dressing room at when the boys were getting ready for it, and they're doing some hits with the media or whatever, and that media circus is 3 inches away from the door to the dressing room. And at first, guys are visiting, they're chirping, they're having a good time, and then all of a sudden, that you feel it kind of fall over okay, we have to start like getting ready, and all right, let's go out there and have a good time. But a couple of guys are going to take it maybe more seriously than they should. But hey, I'm playing, goddammit. But you had Thornton near the door. Yeah. And this is a man who is not afraid to show skin. No. And he is starting to peel off clothing. And then you hear him kind of bark out, hey boys, what do you say we close that door before I give the media a thrill? Make them a little envious. And you hear those chirps.
The most comfortable naked guy I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, do you ever watch have you ever seen the show Letterkenny or Shoresy?
Letterkenny, I have, yeah.
Oh my God. Some of those chirps. Just
Jimmy Playfair, Jim Playfair, the player and coach, coach.
Yeah.
His son is the blonde kid in Letterkenny.
No, Wayne?
Yes.
The main character, Shoresy?
Yes.
Oh my Lord.
The hockey player and young kid. Yeah.
Supremely talented.
Yeah. So but I mean that's hockey. I mean that's what it is.
Oh, so. we use it on the podcast quite rather. To be fair. Yeah, no, we use that a lot. Anyway, so much fun talking to you as always.
Thanks,
but I did get one question from your buddy Puck Guy.
Okay. Yeah.
Wants to know what's happening with the Roughriders, bud.
All I friggin' talk about every day on the radio is so let's go back. So they're 4-4. They're 4-4. They're a 500 team. I mean, they're not going to be much better than 500, but they'll be in the playoffs. Last year they didn't make the playoffs. They were awful. So last year when the CFL was getting going again, after COVID and everything else, on the radio show they were talking about we were talking about rule changes. What should happen? So I get asked, and I went, you see what the NFL is doing? Do that. Because it seems to work really good for them.
Yeah. A lot of eyeballs.
There's like I said, the brand is doing pretty well. And we were talking about, I said, go to 4 downs, which everybody in Canada snaps when you say that. So we had gone to a commercial break, and Jamie Nye, my partner, goes, you're more American than you are Canadian. I went, I know. And I love America. I really do. I'm not just saying that. I love America. And Jamie goes, like, it drives the fans crazy. So first caller up, Remenda, you're more American than you are Canadian. Why don't you move back to San Jose? And I went, I am. I'm going actually in about a month and a half now. So you go, yeah, what's your point? Because, well, that was it.
Okay,
thanks, bud. So Puck Guy, they're 4-4. They beat the Ottawa Red Blacks, but they're not going to go much farther than just first round of the playoffs.
It still just goes down to probably my all-time favorite story of Remenda. You're the worst.
Another one.
Thanks for watching. Oh, you're welcome.
One, yeah. Don Whitman loved it when I said it. We had another one though in Edmonton, and the fans hated me in Edmonton, as you know. So Kevin Quinn and I love Kevin Quinn. I've been so lucky in my life. I got to work with Danny Rizanowski, Randy Hahn, Kevin Quinn, Don Whitman. I worked with great broadcasters. I'm so lucky. Bob Cole. But Kevin Quinn was great. If it wasn't for Kevin Quinn and Gene Principe, I don't know what I would have done in there.
Does Brody Brazil drag the curve down in that?
He evens things out. He evens it out. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say that Brody would look at me like I looked at, at Kevin Quinn and Randy and Danny, and I think he kind of idols. I'm kind of like an idol to him.
Well, I mean, he probably has that iron on a shelf somewhere.
He should. It's a Rowenta.
Bronze.
Anyway. Kevin and I used to walk home because we didn't live very far from where we lived downtown in Edmonton, and we didn't live very far from each other. He'd go one way and I'd go the other after a couple of blocks, but we always walked by that bar that was across the street. So as we're walking across, we walk by that bar. One guy sees me and comes right at me, goes, Remenda, you make me want to hurt myself listening to you. I went, oh, don't let me stop you.
Huh.
And then even his buddy went, he got you there, man.
Yeah,
what? Yeah. He got you there. He's like really drunk.
A solid chirp.
We're walking along. And another guy comes up and goes, hey, you're Kevin Quinn. Kevin's just great. He goes, yeah. And then he looks at me and goes, Remenda. Kevin looks at me and goes, twice on one walk? I said, I know. We only go 3 blocks, for crying out loud.
yeah. But I mean, you've walked what? 2.5 from the beer garden at Whole Foods
every rink in the National Hockey League from our hotel.
Oh,
I
you
have
walked.
I walked to them. That was my last two were Ottawa and Carolina. Now Carolina was tough, but my producer on Sportsnet showed me the back way, because if you're walking in Carolina, you're either walking through the woods of Carolina and you're Bruno Malle's, or you're walking on the highway, right? But he showed me a way to get there. Now it was about 6.5 miles, but I walked it.
What'd that take you?
It took me about hour and 20.
I was going to say.
I walked at a pretty good pace. And then in Ottawa, it's another 6 miles. But there's a back way, and it was Ottawa. Usually you're not there on a nice day, right?
Yeah.
It was a nice day. So I walked there, and John Shannon, who worked at Sportsnet, the great John Shannon, I walk into the rink and he goes, "Did I see you walking?" And I went, "I don't know. Did you?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "And you didn't beat the horn or stop and ask me if I needed a ride? You're just like, screw you, Remenda?" He went, "Yeah, basically that's what I was doing." Went, but those were my last two. But now the Islanders in Brooklyn. Or sorry, where they are now. Yeah, Brooklyn, right? That's what. No, not in Brooklyn. I did the Brooklyn one. No, in where they are now in Belmont.
Yeah,
okay?
But it's out on the aisle, right?
That's it's like 10 miles from the hotel, and it's.
I mean, this is
through some traffic.
Hold on. Let me pull up the sketch here for this season, and I see that you guys
in December. It's in December.
At Boston on the 30th, but then at New Jersey on the 1st, at the Rangers on the 3rd, at the Islanders on the 5th. I mean, if you've got Jersey, Rangers, Islanders, do you guys just post up in Manhattan for the duration?
When we play the Islanders, we're out by the airport, because it's an easier commute.
Newark or
no? I don't know which one.
LaGuardia?
JFK.
Okay.
Yeah, we're right by JFK, and we go from there because it's a little easier drive. So it's a little tough. Yeah, but I've done every rink except now that the new Islanders one.
Well,
gotta keep my girlish figure.
Hold on, wait a minute. So you've done the Kraken?
Oh yeah, that's.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I know, but I'm just, and I mean,
I walked that backwards.
I was going to say the kind of similar to Vegas in relation to the venue and the airport.
Yeah.
You could throw a frisbee from McCarran and hit
Vegas. Vegas ain't a bad walk, by the way.
It depends on if you're doing it this time of year or
yeah. Just put some sunscreen.
Always so great to talk to you, man.
You too, buddy.